What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your NFL writer here at Occupy Fantasy. Here with a look at Week 5 of the UFL season here on DraftKings. We have reached the halfway point of the UFL season. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to Shark Dog Scooby Wright on an excellent spring football career since the 2019 Alliance of American Football days. Scooby unfortunately suffered a neck injury last weekend for the Stallions and has been forced to retire as a result of that. Can't do a spring football video that 3 people will watch without talking about one of the greatest spring football players ever. So congratulations to Scooby on a great spring football career. It also happens that his teammates, the Birmingham Stallions on defense, are the biggest favorites on the board this week. Most expensive defense on the board, but I think we can find paths to rostering them against the Houston Roughnecks, with Birmingham favored by 7.5 this week. Let's get to the plays. These are the top plays for Week 5 UFL DFS here. These are the players you're going to want to use in your lineups this week on DraftKings. We have what I think is actually finally a really playable group of running backs. We have not really seen amazing rushing production in the UFL to date here through the first 4 weeks of the season, but we get a pricing discount on at least 3 starting running backs, I would say, this week due to some injury situations. So let's run through those here. The Birmingham Stallions are the biggest favorites on the board, favored by 7.5 on the road against the Roughnecks this week. And at the running back position, CJ Marable has not practiced this week for the Stallions with a DNP on both Tuesday and Wednesday, waiting the final report here on Thursday with his status for the game. Seems extremely doubtful to play based off of the trend here, and that means Ricky Pearson is likely to be the starting running back. There hasn't been another running back that has taken a single touch for the Stallions other than Pearson and Marable. They do have Larry Roundtree on the roster, but he has not yet been active on the season for them. So we can lock Pearson into an every down role here, which is important with such a positive game script expected, and I think he's extremely playable as a result. The team that is the second biggest favorite on the board and also has the second highest implied team total is the St. Louis Battlehawks, favored by 3 in their matchup with the DC Defenders. Mateo Durant has not been practicing, much like CJ Marable, and is probably likely to miss the Week 5 game here against the Defenders. Wayne Gallman has been relegated to a backup depth role here, and we saw a really, really big performance last week from Jacob Sailors. 15 carries, 103 yards, 5 targets, turned that into 3 receptions for 19 yards and a receiving touchdown. Huge game from Sailors if you're on him last week. Congratulations to you. Salary didn't come up all that much, $7,300 here. Could be playing every down with Durant out. I think we want to lock him into our lineups as well here against the DC Defenders. We have $7,120 per player remaining at running back, and there is even another value running back that we can consider here because Anthony McFarland once again is projected to miss for the San Antonio Brahmas. He has also not been practicing this week. That means John Lovett is in line for another start. Played virtually every down for the Brahmas last week at the running back position. Got all the important touches for them. 13 carries, 3 targets. Lovett comes in at just $6,700 here with the Brahmas favored on the road against the winless Arlington Renegades. He is also playable. You got $7,225 per player remaining. We still have quite a few value wide receivers if you ignore Kirkland at the top of the table here. And you can absolutely get away with playing 2 of these guys. I'm not sure I would play 3 because I do think pass catchers are pretty valuable in UFL DFS. But the bottom line here is it's still possible to play a ton of really fun, high upside lineup combinations with your quarterback and your pass catchers without really worrying about the salary too much because we finally have some running back value that we can utilize here in Week 5. Pearson and Sailors are going to be the best plays, I think, based off of where spreads and totals are this week. So I'm going to leave them slotted into my dummy lineup here for the rest of this video. Quarterback position, A.J. McCarron. We're going to want to start there with the value at running back, making it easy for us to pay up for the best quarterback in the league here. Not necessarily easy to figure out week in and week out who's going to be the recipient of his passes and of the fantasy points in this offense, but we can get exposure to all of them with McCarron at quarterback. Now at wide receiver, we're going to have to keep an eye on the final practice reports for the Battlehawks, but each of Darius Shepard and Hakeem Butler were listed as did not participate in the first practice of the week for the Battlehawks. That means we have bumps potentially in usage for Marcel Aitman, who has been a starting wide receiver for them all season long, and Ja'Cour Pearson, who had an extremely involved role in his first week back from injury in week number 4. Only played about half of the snaps, but was targeted on 35% of his routes, turned that into 10 receptions on every target he received for 70 yards and a touchdown. If he's playing more snaps out of the slot because Darius Shepard is unavailable, we're probably going to want to use Pearson once again as the best receiver to pair with A.J. McCarron here in our lineups. Aside from the high upside St. Louis Battlehawks pairings with A.J. McCarron, some of the best receivers you can consider, maybe not on this build, but who else? Jos Ray Kirkland with his extremely high upside target and air yard role in the San Antonio Brahmas offense is always playable. We still have a very high upside role from Tyler Vaughns. Didn't necessarily have the performance last week that we wanted against the Roughnecks, but he is still leading this team in opportunities at pass catcher, and the playing time is there. Buy the dip on him here potentially at just $6,600. We also have access to Dion Kane, who I think is the one true underperforming wide receiver on the slate this week. Kane has not scored a touchdown since week 1 of the NFL season. That means over the trailing 3 weeks of play at his usage level, which is about a 22% target share, 31% share of air yards from Birmingham Stallion quarterbacks, Dion Kane is extremely interesting here in week number 5 if the opportunities that he's seeing in the passing game stay consistent with what he has seen in recent weeks. So definitely like the opportunity with Kane. And then the number 1 performer at the position is still severely underpriced at just $6,100. Marcus Sims here, number 1 receiver for the Michigan Panthers, has scored in 3 consecutive games and has only seen his salary go up a minuscule amount in each of those weeks here. So we got to like Sims' price, especially if we're trying to fit high upside players from high-performing offenses like the Battlehawks and the Stallions in our lineups this week. Sims is still in that pricing tier. Other options that are relatively affordable that have really interesting usage still. Kelvin Haron finally got in the box last week, running a ton of routes, seeing a ton of targets, seeing a ton of air yards for the DC defenders. Still just $6,300 here in week number 5, so we can absolutely utilize him as well for some value. On defense, obviously talked about the Stallions off the top of the video here. Obviously, the favored Battlehawks will be another option. I don't mind dropping all the way down to the Renegades at $3,800 at home against the Brahmas. We're going to see Quinton Dormie drop back to pass a lot in the San Antonio Brahmas offense. We already saw him throw an interception last week. Opportunities to make plays against a quarterback are what we need with a cheap defense. So the Renegades definitely would be an interesting play here to try to fit some of the better plays overall. In general, though, I do think we stick to the top defenses if we can. And I like the Panthers this week as well, even though they are the underdog side of the matchup with the Memphis Showboats. We have seen the Showboats offensive line be pretty porous and allow a lot of sacks on their quarterbacks. So it could be interesting to play the Panthers at just $4,300 here as well. And we get $6,100 per player remaining. We get down to the Renegades. We have $66 per player remaining. Plenty of wide receivers that we can play for that final flex spot to make things work here. We play the Stallions, $5,400. There are even still plays in this range that aren't necessarily going to see a ton of ownership in DFS contests this week, but still have the usage that make it possible to get things done here. So that's a quick overview of how I'm attacking week 5 in UFL DFS. A lot more flexibility if you consider a quarterback other than A.J. McCarron. I do think we obviously with the highest implied team total, we're going to be super interested in a Birmingham quarterback. I'm tired of playing Birmingham Stallion quarterback roulette on these videos. I seem to be touting the one that is not starting every single week that I do a video for you guys. So I'm just going to hedge and say whether it is Matt Corral or Adrien Martinez at quarterback with the highest implied team total on the board, if we get some kind of assurance that one of these guys is going to play the majority, if not all, of the snaps for the Stallions in week number 5, we obviously want to consider them in addition to A.J. McCarron in week number 5. And then the best opportunity on the board, it's not quite on the same level as the minimum price Quinton Dormie play on last week's 4-game slate, but the Michigan Panthers unfortunately had to place E.J. Perry on injured reserve this week. So E.J. Perry is going to be out for the foreseeable future here. And that means Danny Etling at $7,800 is a starting quarterback this week. He is usable, and that allows you to pay up for an even better skill play for a final spot here, I would say as well. So a lot of options here that are definitely on the table that make things playable, but really excited about the running back values that make all of this possible this week. So have some fun with it. If you're still playing UFL DFS here in the middle of the season, definitely appreciate you sticking around watching these videos as we put them out. Free projections for the Week 5 slate of the UFL season on DraftKings available to our Discord subscribers only. So if you are still trying to play some UFL DFS, definitely jump in our Discord. I've got you covered week in and week out with projections for classic slates, all of these single game slates that are available every single week here on DraftKings, and we'll be doing that for the rest of the UFL season into the middle of June here. Good luck in week number 5 of the UFL season, and we will be back next week to talk to you about week 6.